So welcome to this support video for the validation, the first of the validation challenges on CompleteIt.co.uk, the C# challenges. So we want to do the simplest of the different types of validation, which is a presence check. So you are given a class called a product review. Imagine you're buying something off Amazon and you want to be able to score a review. So this is a written statement, a string, some text. We have some sensitive information. So it's a private attribute, and we're going to use encapsulation to wrap that private attribute with a public method. So we don't want people to be able to just put any old review in there. We want to have certain validation rules in place. So you can set a review to anything as long as it's not an empty string. Oh dear, I need to fix this. If you set it to an empty string, it should fail. Because it will fail the presence check. Presence check means, is there anything at all provided? So at the moment, it doesn't do any kind of whitelisting or blacklisting to block you from putting rude words in your product reviews. It only blocks you if you leave an empty review. Simplest type of validation, a presence check. You could use this in your project for, I don't know, a username or password thing, where it says you haven't provided a username or you haven't provided a password. So if we run it straight away, our code is going to run because we don't return a value. So we have a method. Remember, a method is just a function or a procedure inside a class. And setReview doesn't return a value. It needs to return a Boolean value here if it's valid or not. So if we pass our presence check, it will return true. If we fail our presence check, it will return false. How do we know? Well, if our parameter, which is called review, so the parameter is passed in, the new value, is not equal to an empty string, or maybe let's make it clearer to understand. If it's an empty string, then let's return false. We fail our presence check. Otherwise, we can return true. Remember, as soon as you return, nothing else happens. So if I try review equals review, I've got two problems here. First is that's not going to run because return breaks out of a function or a procedure or a method. Next, I've got a parameter called review and an attribute called review. So parameters take precedence. This is what I'm going to refer to here, the parameter. If I want to set the attribute, which is like a variable that belongs to a class, I need to go this.review. That sets the attribute to the parameter value. That should fix setReview. But we need to do the same thing for getReview. So let's see, we can just return the private attribute. But we have a bit of a problem here because there's a mismatch here. We can't implicitly convert string to int because I've set this up wrong. This is trying to return an integer. The review is actually a string. That should hopefully work if I've set this up properly. And now, let's see. So here we go. We should have a default value for our attributes. The default value for me at the moment is just an empty review. But if we read it carefully, if you don't set a review, it should be unrated. So you could set up a constructor if you wanted, or just set the default value to unrated. So until you set review, that's its default value. Will that work? Hooray! So remember, a presence check allows you to check and see if there is any data at all provided.